Let's continue talking about virtualization. In this case, we're going to talk about containers. Containers are isolated processes that make heavy use of namespaces. So for instance, you can have your operating systems that can be, for instance, Linux, and you will create your isolated processes that will be making use of namespaces. What is namespaces? With namespaces, for instance, you can do or create a user here in this container that is named Bob, and you can create another user with the same username here with the name Bob, and this will look the same, look like having the same name, but it will be actually different users. With the namespaces, for instance, if you run here a sub-process, for instance, a web server, this process will can be given the process ID of 1000, and you can do here the same. You can run sub-process here, for instance, a web server as well, and this can be given the same process ID. Even if they have the same process ID, they will be completely different processes. And for instance, if you do here a cd to your root of your operating your file system, you will see files here that can have the same name as the files that you will see here. If you did the same thing, the same command, you will be seeing files that have the same name but be actually different physical files. So this will allow you the chance of installing, for instance, here a library that belongs to a software with one version, and install here another library that belongs to the same software but with a different version, and you will have an application here that will need a set of libraries that can be completely different from the set of libraries that will another application number 2 will need here. This is the big advantage of containers. So in order to set up all of these, and in order to start up your containers, in order to start them up, in order to stop them, in order to freeze them, in order to clone them, in order to move them around, you will need a container engine. The most popular could be Docker, that works this way, but there are many others container engines. For instance, you can have CRY-O. For instance, this container will let you group your containers into what is known as a pod, where the security settings for all of these containers are the same. And your containers will also need virtual NICs, virtual network interface cards, in order to communicate with one another and with the outside world. And your container engine will give you a basic networking level of features in order to provide this networking. If you want to have a more advanced networking, you can install a virtual switch. For instance, you can install OVS as another process within your operating system that will let you create some more advanced features regarding your networking. And if you start creating a lot of containers in your network across many segments, across many servers, you will need an container orchestration tool in order to manage a lot of containers. You will need, for instance, to use Kubernetes, that are also known as K8. So Kubernetes is a platform that will let you manage a large amount of containers. That's it.